She just wants to help you discover your dreams, unlock your potential, and find the sparkle within, all while bashing you over the head with a tree branch. In this episode, we look at Lillia, Bashful Bloom. Eep! Welcome to Runeterra Tourist. I'm Patrick. I don't know anything about these people yet, so let's learn about them together. When Lillia was first released, you see green and blue as her main colors and sprite tokens with temporary, a signature spell that counters and locks out opponents from doing anything. So initial impression is, oh, this is just another control deck. Didn't we already get that with Ari? And then you see that it's a token flooding aggro deck. Did somebody spill aggro into my hold deck? What's going on here? In League of Legends, Lillia is a jungler built on movement and dream dust. She swings her branch at enemies to apply dream dust, this lingering magic that deals damage over time and gains this stacking movement speed each time she lands a hit. And so the more she hits, the faster she gets. And her ultimate, called Lilting Lullaby, puts all nearby enemies who've been touched by the dream dust into a deep sleep. So she's not really a brawler. She's this hit and run champion who builds momentum and then closes out with this mass sleep, leaving everybody vulnerable and also apologizes while she attacks. During development, she was internally codenamed Cute Jungler. Yeah, that happened. She was released in 2020. She was a part of the Spirit Blossom event, and she's voiced with this soft Scottish accents, and she was inspired by the fairies of the British Isles. And so she was designed specifically because Riot felt like there was an opportunity for something pretty, elegant, whimsical in their champion roster. And so, yeah, draw your own conclusions with that one. So what did Riot land on with this cute jungler? So a few episodes ago, we covered Ivern the Cruel. You can probably watch that like around here or something. A warlord who cut down the god willow and became a tree himself, the new protector of nature. Several seeds were scattered when the god willow fell, and one took root in Navori, Ionia, in what would be called the Garden of Forgetting. Ivern, now the Green Father, nurtured that seed into the Dreaming Tree, a spirit tree that gathered humanity's dreams in its flower buds, spreading mortal desires and magic each time the blossoms opened. Lillia was born when one of the Dreaming Tree's own dream buds fell to the ground before it could bloom, something that had never happened before. It spawned this awkward fae-fawn with a flower bud attached to her head. She is literally the dream of a tree that was made from a dead tree, so some treeception of sorts, I guess. And I guess Ivern is technically her grandfather. I mean, he's old enough, right? He is like 1,000 some years old, but that's something I didn't really think of being possible when I was making these episodes. Oh, this is interesting. A family tree of sorts. She spent her entire existence in the garden, tending to the tree and watching human dreams drift in on the night air. And she knew humanity entirely through their dreams, their hopes, fears, loves, longings, without ever meeting a single one. She considered every dreamer her friend, and she had never actually met them. So I'm a little worried because I've got some pretty strange dreams sometimes, so if that's how she's picturing humanity, ooh, that's a pretty terrifying first impression. Now, after the Noxian invasion of Ionia, dreams stopped coming. The Dreaming Tree began to sicken, infected with these burls and this dark ooze, weakening it and unable to protect the garden from outsiders. One night during the Spirit Blossom Festival, several warriors chased this lone swordsman into the garden, and so a sword strike cut down the branch holding Lillia's own dream bud. And so she panicked, and in this panic she flung dream dust on all of them, putting everyone to sleep. When the strangers awoke, she saw them as different from the luminous beings that she had imagined from their dreams, these tangled, confused, complicated creatures. And she noticed that the lone figure's dream slowly floated towards the cut down branch and into the bud containing Lillia's own dream. So she picked up the branch and soothed the dream within the bud, causing it and herself to grow brighter as the bud on her head unfurled and bloomed with this magical sparkling pollen before sneezing and releasing the magic into the forest. Lillia hid behind a tree and watched as they completely forgot how they got to this garden and what they were even doing there in the first place before finally leaving. And she was relieved to see them go, but still saw the potential for dreams within these humans despite how tangled and violent they were on the surface. Now she travels Ionia collecting lost dreams to bring back to the dreaming tree and help it heal. And she approaches humans with equal parts wonder and terror, frequently can't even look them in the eye, and periodically apologizes as she's hitting them with her branch. While shy and hiding just out of sight, Lillia now helps humans realize their own potential from what she's seen in their dreams. In doing so, Lillia realizes that she's finally fulfilling her own dream to explore the world and meet these dreamers, occasionally causing the bud on her head to bloom. In the short story, Lillia encounters this lonely little girl in the forest whose dream about her sister seems fairly elusive. Lillia realizes that it's not what the girl wants, but what she needs, this connection to her absent sister. And through a heartfelt exchange, Lillia helps the girl realize her dream, except her sister, it would be realized by Lillia and, of course, the reader that she's no longer there. The little girl asks her grandmother about it, but we don't really know the end result. I think we know the end result of the sister. But Lillia says something about how the girl will know in her heart that her sister's love will always be there. So, I mean, that's just like reassuring her about the tooth fairy. That seems kind of mean. There's also the dewdrop harvest, which seems to be connected to Legends of Runeterra somehow. And in it, Lillia returns to the Garden of Forgetting in preparation for a harvest of dewdrops. Sure. And she sees into other dreams carried by the dewdrops in this garden. Looking into one dream, she actually saw Vex attending a joyful birthday party planned by her friend, Alay, which Vex considered more of a nightmare. I would imagine she would. She also sees Lux's dream, where Demacia celebrates her magical abilities rather than fears them. However, Lillia witnessed that it was corrupt with darkness. And so, in an effort to save Lux and her dream of a better Demacia, Lillia fought off the corruption, which manifested in the form of these mysterious crows. Yeah, sure. There's also a small connection with Yone, because in the Spirit Blossom event, I guess there's a moment where Yone calls her a good spirit and is protective of her. Not really like lore per se, it's a little bit more flavor, but it's a nice little detail I thought I'd include. All in all, Lillia is this shy and kind individual, but also extremely protective and determined in her cause to help the Mother Tree, and she's very passionate and devoted to her mission to save the Mother Tree's life. In League of Legends, she hits enemies to apply the Dream Dust, that damage over time mechanic, and gains speed with each hit. And her ultimate puts Dream Dusted enemies to sleep. So it's more of a, the more she hits, the more powerful she becomes, but momentum based, not really aggro. In Legends of Runeterra, she's more focused on this sleep mechanic, where you obliterate or remove your own allied creatures and then create a temporary copy. So you're focused on re-triggering these summon effects, and then also generates a discount for the dream-laden bow spells if you have it in hand already. And also there's a stacking mechanism with all of the spirit allies that you have on the board. So then what would her build be in Riftbound? I mean, you've got a green-blue color pairing, so that along with a sleep-adjacent signature counter spell made me think, oh sure, well then it's going to be a control mid-range deck, holding battlefield, slowing down the opponent, win on card advantage. So this hold-focused deck that uses sprites as maybe blocking fodder or something while drawing to better answers, even though the sprites have temporary. Or maybe you would utilize the sleep mechanic, or she'd do the temporary copy thing, but then ended up with LeBlanc, which honestly kind of fits better there anyway. What we got was a complete opposite. Instead, she's aggro, which feels kind of like a mismatch for this character that's an awkward fae-fawn, this shy creature. I don't know, but it is kind of neat to have this pivot with green-blue being aggro instead of a hold-based color pairing. And I mean, we missed out on the idea of the Dreaming Tree being a possible mechanism tie-in, since it's now banned in competitive play. The idea that you can select a unit with a spell and get a card draw when you're there. What could have been? So looking at what resulted, we have Lillia Bashful Bloom, the green-blue pairing as we mentioned, and her legend ability is for 4 energy and exhausting the legend card. You play a ready 3 might sprite unit token with temporary. This ability costs 1 energy less for each friendly unit with temporary. So you kind of have to use your imagination on this one, pun kind of intended, but the sprites are clearly the dream fragments, thematically speaking. Each one is a piece of the dream magic that she's generating, and they're temporary because dreams are fleeting and they fade as they're released, probably due to a sneeze, right? And the cost reduction for existing temporary units kind of maps to the Legend of Runeterra mechanic, where if she has the Dream Bow in hand, its cost is reduced, and this occurs when Lillia is summoned or she strikes, aka attacks. So Riot built her around sprites instead of the typical hold strategy that you see with green builds, which forces you into a more aggressive posture than the character and its lore would suggest. But the legend ability grants amazing value. I mean, having access to a ready unit at all times generates great tempo, and discounting it with more temporary units on the board helps establish a board presence in case you're drawing dead. Excellent, excellent card. Her signature spell is Lilting Lullaby, a 2 energy cost, 2 power spell that has reaction speed, and it counters a spell. Its controller can't play spells this turn. So it's clearly named after her League of Legends ultimate, which puts dream dusted enemies to sleep. And when you sleep, you can't act, and you can't act, you can't play spells. This is the Riftbound version that counters a spell and locks out further spells being played that turn. So a somewhat translation of the sleep mechanic, yet not as oppressive as some cards. We're looking at you, Bryn here, Thundersong. It's a counter spell, so it has to be at reaction speed, and I guess that would kind of translate to the ability that she speeds up with the more dream dusted enemies that are in play. So I suppose it's not a direct translation to her League of Legends ultimate, but you know, the idea of putting enemies to sleep, this one locks them out with a counter spell. You take what you get. Moving on to our champion units, we start with the rare out of mind, Lillia fae-fawn. It's a 3 energy cost, 3 might unit that has accelerate, where you pay an energy and a blue power as an additional cost to have them enter ready. And when I move from a location, play a 3 might sprite unit token with temporary there. This is an interesting one because she leaves sprites behind when she moves. And in League of Legends, she gains movement speed as she hits enemies. She just zips around the map. In Riftbound, she moves from battlefield to the base, and then from base to the battlefield, leaving sprites behind wherever she goes. Dream footprints, I guess. There just doesn't seem to be a direct correlation to the movement to token generation as opposed to the hit, gain speed, repeat mechanic that she has in League of Legends. The accelerated cost to enter ready is, I guess, kind of that burst of speed that she gets after landing ahead, but I mean, she didn't hit anybody yet, so entering ready is a little bit of an interesting twist. Gameplay wise, there are a couple of interesting moves you can make with this mechanism. I mean, after you move a sprite token or another unit onto a battlefield, you play the accelerated Lillia from your champion zone to that battlefield and then move her to base, so you leave behind a 3 might sprite token in defense. Or on defense, you use smoke and mirrors to move Lillia back to base while the sprite token holds the fort. There's some really unique plays that you can make with her, although I don't really see her being placed in many other decks, but she is absolutely the champion of choice for a lot of Lillia decks. Finally, we have the epic champion unit out of Calm, Lillia, Protector of Dreams, a 5 energy cost 4 might unit that has the ability, when you play a token unit, give me +1 might this turn. Your token units have tank, which means they must be assigned combat damage first. Tank on sprites, I guess, is thematically the dream fragments protecting her, protected by dreams, whatever. Pretty loose translation thematically. Mechanically, a +1 might per token played. I guess she grows stronger as more dreams accumulate, mapping somewhat to League of Legends stacking abilities with the speed mechanic, but it's growing in strength, not speed. So if they really wanted to do the speed thing, they would have given her ganking after X number of token units or something, and they didn't really do that here. In practice, there's rarely a turn where you're generating enough simultaneous token plays for the might to stack up meaningfully here. So good conceptually, but a bit underwhelming in the execution. And so as a result, you really don't see this unit used that much. If anything, this probably more closely ties with the Legend of the Runeterra ability with Spirit, where a unit with Spirit gets a +1/+1 boost for each Spirit stack it owns. So it's an interesting idea in theory, but it's not really well supported enough yet for Riftbound. As has been stated numerous times now, Lillia runs Calm and Mind, green and blue, and the core game plan is to generate sprite tokens through the legend ability and the fae-fawn champion unit, as well as spells or gear like Sprite Burst or Sprite Fountain, then using Lilting Lullaby as well as other powerful green cards like Defy to disrupt the opponent's spell plays and flood the battlefields with temporary threats that force the opponent to deal with these multiple units rather than one big threat. So she's surprisingly aggro for a green-blue deck, and the correct way is to not sit back and hold. I mean, you can't. The units are temporary. They won't count for holds anyways. So you have to generate a lot of sprites constantly to apply pressure, letting the temporary nature of the tokens work for you since they attack readily. I mean, what do you have to lose? Rather than against you. But we have to talk about the elephant in the room, or I guess the yordle in the room, Vex Apathetic. This one card, when it's at a battlefield, basically shuts down everything Lillia tries to do, because when it's at a battlefield, enemy units enter stunned and can't move that turn. So all of these temporary units that you're generating with Lillia, they're useless. By the time they can act, they've disappeared into the ether. So your entire game plan is completely stymied by this one card. And not just Lillia. Any legend that has ambush mechanics or relies on ambush units is completely shut down by this one card, which is interesting in a set that emphasizes ambush units. Practically every purple deck runs this card, so it's something that you have to be aware of as a Lillia player, and so the meta is still trying to figure out a lot of clean answers for it, which is difficult to do since not only is the unit annoying, but it has deflect as well, so it's going to cost an extra power just to deal with it. It's why unchecked power has started to see a lot more play in blue decks for this reason on top of Aurora decks. As of recording, it's pretty expensive. Hopefully the price will go down when we start seeing more Origin cards in play and in stock, so keep that in mind, but at the moment it's kind of something that's used in sideboards just in case anyway, but just something to have in the back of the mind. From personal experience, I've played as Lillia. I actually found the concept very intriguing, especially as an aggro player myself, and so I took her to the SCG Con recently that was here and completely got decimated. But I can say I lost enthusiastically, playing only the cards that I had in my collection at the time, and so I can confirm she is a little tricky to pilot, and the Vex Apathetic is as miserable to play against as you would imagine, but the fae-fawn unit is great. And the Sprite Fountain, probably the real MVP of the deck, along with the Masks of Foresight and Heart of Dark Ice that bolster these units. I would highly recommend getting as many of those cards as you can in this deck. But I genuinely think there's something to this Lillia deck. I mean, it's an aggro, and thanks to Vancouver, we've kind of seen some of the possible builds, and while I don't think it's optimized yet, I think there's a lot of potential, especially in a game that emphasizes tempo, and her legend ability gives nothing but tempo. As for the lore, it's a little unusual. I mean, you've got a dream born from a tree that was descended from the god willow that Ivern cut down, and to give her this high-pitched Scottish accent to boot is a little interesting. It's definitely a choice, but Riot committed to something specific and strange rather than retreating to generic fantasy, so I gotta give him a nod for that one. She stands out significantly amongst the assassins and warlords and revenants, especially as someone who apologizes as she bashes your head in with a tree branch. Unleashed has embraced junglers of all types. I mean, you can see Rengar and Ivern, and Lillia is no different. She's not what you would expect from an aggro build in Riftbound, but her lore, while a little bit confusing, I mean, she harvests dreams. It sounds more like she's trying to help people reach their potential by bopping them in the head, like a Catholic nun kind of thing, except she's capturing people's dreams to heal a tree. This is the, oh no, I'm taking your dreams, but I'm helping, eep, kind of thing. I mean, she's like one step away from Freddy Kruegering it up, isn't she? All that to say, definitely points for uniqueness amidst a flood of aspiring champions that are hyper-aggressive warrior types, right? I mean, it could have gotten real awkward when you realize that her codename was Cute Jungler. We'll at least have to give them credit for this one. She's certainly the most unique legend that I have covered so far in lore and design and how she plays mechanically. But to Lillia players, what's been your experience in League of Legends? Or if you've played her in Riftbound, how's that worked out for you for that matter? And did I miss anything in her lore? Let me know in the comments below. New episodes drop weekly, and we've got one more Unleashed champion to go. Yeah, look forward to Poppy. So subscribe if that sounds like it's your thing. And until next time, thanks for watching.